Hello, everybody. Welcome to the final Clayton and James show of the 24-25 season. Clayton just said to me we should go full circle and we should try Clayton's intro again.
Run it back. First one of the season. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Clayton and James Show, where we discuss some of the trending topics from the world of football. My name is Clayton.
No wonder we fucking ditched it. My name is James.
There'll be people that tuned in to this show like halfway through the season that are like, "What are you on about?"
Yeah, I should imagine so. Yeah, Clayton attempted a few intros. It became a bit of a thing, and we decided just to take it off him because they were all pretty shit, basically. So, how are you, Clayton? I feel like you've not been on the pod for a while.
Yeah, no, I'm all right. It was my 30th last week, so yeah, I went on
Happy
holiday.
birthday.
Thank you. Yeah, went on holiday. Good timing because I escaped to North London for the week where it was very lily white. Yeah, congratulations to you and all the Tottenham fans. Yeah, let's move on from that. No, genuinely.
Campione, campione.
No, yeah, congratulations. But yeah, no, I've been all right. Been all right. Turned 30, went on holiday. So yeah, that's why I've been missing for a while. But yeah, it's sad times. This is the last pod of the season.
We don't know how long this one's going to be because me and Clayton's going to have a bit of a debate in the middle about a Premier League team of the season, which we've not pre-discussed, but we're going to kind of debate out what we'd go for. Something a bit light-hearted for the end of the season. A little chat about Sunderland and obviously the conclusion of the playoffs at the weekend. Euro Focus takes us to Italy and Inter Milan ahead of Saturday's Champions League final against Paris Saint-Germain. Talking the Champions League finals, one of my favourite ever, a part of on this day this weekend. But as Clayton already alluded to, North London, Champions of Europe, there's more chat. We are going to talk about the most recent English team to win a European trophy. It's not Tottenham Hotspur, it is actually Arsenal.
Yeah, the ladies. We've
Congratulations.
yeah, no, thanks. We covered them in one of the pods. I can't remember if it was after they beat Real Madrid or Leon. But still, like what they've done is absolutely amazing. Like they've gone through quite a bit of change in the last year. So the manager changed, and yeah, like domestically, it's not been a great season. Chelsea have obviously cleaned up in the league. They've been so dominant for
Unbeaten,
years.
weren't they, Chelsea?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so there's been a period of transition, and I think especially as the draws happened, like Real Madrid, Leon. I mean, Leon itself, like they're known as like the best team in Europe, and especially this Barcelona team as well. Like Arsenal were heavy underdogs going into it. I don't like even the most devout Arsenal women fans was not really giving them a chance, to be honest. And yeah, to go there and do that was pretty amazing. I unfortunately couldn't watch the whole game because that's the day I was flying back from my holiday. So I managed to catch like the first 25 minutes. I was on the plane. We were on the ground. Don't worry. Flight mode didn't need to be on yet. But yeah, I caught the first 25 minutes and I did see so I forgot who put the ball in the back of the net one, but then that was ruled off for offside. But from what I saw in that little period, Arsenal were playing pretty well. It was yeah, pretty determined performance. Barcelona, as you'd expect, pretty good on the ball, pretty dominant, but Arsenal were very resolute, getting them on the counter, attacking space really well, put the ball in the back of the net, and then obviously I missed the rest of the game. But as soon as I landed, first thing I did was check the score, and it sounded like it was a deserved result in the end. And Blackstenius obviously gave Arsenal the 1-0 lead and they saw it out nicely. But I think that's only the second time we've won the Women's Champions League. I want to say the last time was like 2007. So it's a hell of an achievement for them. And yeah, I think for me, it's just even more impressive given all of the change that's happened in the last year. And even when Eideveld went, there was a lot of uncertainty about Renee coming in and stuff. And I think she's definitely won the hearts and minds over the course of the season. So, yeah, pretty astonishing end to the season, what they've done. And it was nice seeing the parade. Yes, yeah, I think because it's the women's game, I still think has a lot of work to do in terms of like how much popularity it is getting and stuff. But I do think year on year, you're seeing so much more traction and so much more support. Even I've been to a few of the games. It's nice. Like my little, I say little sister, she's not so little, but I put her off football growing up because of how obsessed I am with it and the men's game that is. But she's kind of started to show an interest in the women's game, and that's nice for us to kind of bond over that. And I think that's the same with a lot of other families where they maybe don't feel so what's the word included
Well,
in the
it's
men's
also
game.
the
And
expense for families to go to men's football is very different to women's football, right? So
yeah,
it is a lot easier. Let's be honest. I think Arsenal winning the women's Champions League is actually very good for women's football.
massively, yeah.
I don't feel any. I wasn't like, oh, Arsenal. Like I wasn't like that on
No,
Saturday. I was like, oh, that's probably going to be quite good for the women's game ahead of England, obviously going back into trying to defend their European Championship this summer as well. So, yeah, it's great achievement. First English side to do it since you'd done it previously, and it feels like Chelsea had really been knocking on the door over the last couple of years. And I think it was a big surprise because Barcelona really kind of swept Chelsea away in the semi-final as well,
yeah,
and
wasn't it
Chelsea had
like
obviously
eight
been
nil?
better than you, and you think "Oof, there's probably more chance of an absolute slapping here than actually winning it. So fair dues. That's a great achievement for the football club, and it gets more eyes, I think, on the women's Champions League. I think the format's going to match up to it's less teams, but it's going to match up similar to the men's. I think from either next season or the season after as well. So yeah, great achievement for Arsenal's women's team winning that. Wasn't the only kind of big story in women's football yesterday because Mary Earps has announced that she's not going to play for England in the Euros, which is come as a real surprise. She's lost her place in the first 11 very recently to Hannah Hampton of Chelsea, who Serena Weigman seems to appear to be that's a choice for number one in goal for England now. It's very surprising call, sort of like a month before the tournament. And he takes Hampton to get injured, and Earps would have been back in goals.
I've not.
Strange one. She'll have her
Yeah.
reasoning, but it's a strange one.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. I've not read any of the articles around it. Has she disclosed her reasoning, or?
I don't know if it's maybe just to do with just not being number one and not wanting to be there, not wanting to do the kind of month worth of travel and stuff to not play. Um, we've seen plenty of example in men's football. Think of international players once they realise they're not part of the kind of first choice 11 going, this isn't for me anymore. There's plenty to do stay on. I just find that the timing surprising.
Yeah.
Like if she just do the tournament and step down afterwards, I think would have been what most people will have expected. And obviously England will go into the Euros as amongst the favourites for that tournament. Let's talk the playoff finals at the weekend. Did you watch any of them, Clates?
No, so I was in the airport, weren't I? So I didn't manage to catch any of the Sunderland and Sheffield United game. But I'll be honest, I did want Sunderland to come up. Sorry to the Blades fans, sorry Tomo, but I
Can you
think
explain why?
well we've seen
I'm
Sheffield
bored
United.
of Sheffield United. That's
Yeah,
what you
I'm
want to
bored
say,
of
isn't
them.
it?
Yeah, I'm
Sorry,
bored of
Blades
them.
fans.
And Sunderland are a massive club, and I think it would just be cool to see something different. I'm not saying Sheffield United aren't a big club, but yeah, it would be cool to see a new big club that we haven't seen since. When was the last time they were up? Was it like 2011,
Ooh,
2010?
16, I think they went
Oh,
down.
oh,
Don't quote me
16.
on that.
Oh,
I
that's a
think
lot more
I
recent
think
than I
that's
thought.
right. 16 or 17, one or the other.
Okay, but yeah,
Um,
it's as simple as that. No malice in terms of play styles, any of that. It's just literally something new. And a club of that size that hasn't been in the top flight for a while, I think, is quite nice to see.
yeah, I my feelings were similar to you. I think of people like Tomo, obviously our Sheffield United correspondent, and I know we've got plenty of Sheffield United followers on the podcast as well. I'm thinking, yeah, I'd love them to come back up for you. I'm gonna say something horrible, but also thinking, what's your best case scenario here? Your best case scenario is you're probably going to finish 17th, and I've seen this before, and you're going down the following year. And it needs something to break that cycle for us to feel different about it at the moment. It's not meant harshly against Sheffield United because I think ultimately it's probably how we feel about Burnley. Burnley feels a little bit different because they'll be coming up with a manager who's not done it with them before. We've all seen Chris Wilder and Sheffield United in the Premier League. And I don't think there's a, yeah, well, the first time they did it, they finished ninth. That would be a miracle if he did it again. Sheffield United fans would have taken you, snapped your hands off for 17th. And I think as it stands, all three promoted clubs would snap your hand off for 17th. Because what I would say is, as much as you could maybe be critical, I've seen that with Sheffield United. Yeah, unless Sunderland do something dramatic in this window, I don't think they'll be staying up.
No, I've not
No.
watched enough of them to know, to be honest.
I watched both legs of the playoff final against Coventry. And to be honest, in the second leg, they'd obviously had the lead from the Rico in the first leg. In the second leg, they didn't really start playing to a second half extra time. Coventry were the better side throughout. And I know Coventry got their opener quite late, so game state is an important part of that. And Sunderland scored this very dramatic winning goal from Dan Ballard from a corner, a really awkward header. And the limbs are probably the best I've seen in any stadium this season. But I will shout out Tranmere Rovers fans at Accrington Stanley. Who are they
Who are
exactly?
they?
That's one to check out. They scored three like long range goal of the season contenders to come back from 3-0 down and draw 3-3 like in injury time. That's the best limbs this season I saw was Tranmere fans at Accrington. And then on Saturday, I struggled with that game. It was pretty poor. Sunderland never showed up in the first half at all. And pretty much Sheffield United had a fairly straightforward tactic to go quite direct, quite quickly and play off second balls. They did admittedly go in front Sheffield United for an absolutely brilliantly well worked goal in the first half, which was really well kind of put on a plate by Gus Hammer, who was at the Coventry team that lost in the playoff final a couple of years ago. Finished by Tyrese Campbell. All through the game, it just looked like it was going to finish 1-0. It looked like, oh, I've seen this playoff final so many times. This could have been like Forest Huddersfield or Southampton Leeds or, one of these ones I've watched over the last few years. Like, yep, this is finishing 1-0. I half thought of just, I was struggling to stay awake and I thought, I'll turn this off.
Fair play. Did
I
you
was half
did
thinking
you
about
turn
it,
it
but I
off?
couldn't see, no, I couldn't see
Okay.
Sheffield United not scoring. But I was kind of, as I was nodding, Sheffield United conceded, Sunderland equalised, which was a very well worked goal, finished very nicely by Mienda. And it came from nothing, really. And then from then, you did instantly think, well, Sheffield United have been strolling this. Just, are they going to be able to turn it back around? Now Sunderland are kind of like, they've gone quite heavy, like 4-2-4 up front and are going for it. And end up scoring this delightful winning goal from a young lad. Is it Tom Watson? His name? I
Watson,
don't know.
yeah.
It's Watson. I forget his first name. Tom Watson. Yeah, he's leaving the club. He's signed for Brighton. That was all sorted out like a month or so ago.
So I've not seen any of the highlights from this game, but you spoke about the limbs and stuff. The 95th minute, I think it was. Surely the limbs for that were insane.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. But it wasn't late in the sense that there
Okay.
was 7 minutes. I think it was 7 minutes added on, and then there was an injury that stopped the game for about 3 minutes as well.
Okay.
So I think you would have known there was like at least sort of like 5-6 minutes still to go. I think the game went past 100 minutes. It's interesting for Sunderland as well. Watson's obviously leaving. He's a young boy. Joe Bellingham's being heavily linked with a move to Bundesliga, be it Dortmund, Leipzig. I think Frankfurt's been mentioned as well. And I'm a bit nervous for them that the team that comes up might be weaker than the one that's got promoted. And we've seen that already. And that has an inevitable conclusion. Now, Sunderland are a sizable football club who've rebuilt themselves quite well in the last few years. They're going to need to spend some money. That team that they've got now, I hope I'm wrong, but it won't stay up.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing Beery's
It's
opinion on it.
significantly weaker than Leeds and Burnley. Significantly. They finished like 24 points behind them.
Yep.
And Sheffield United finished on like significantly more than Sunderland. You would have expected to get the job done basically. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Spencer says. We'll get Spencer on the podcast. I want to do two podcasts with Spencer Barrowman, our new Sunderland correspondent. Obviously, do correspondent week. He'll be part of that. But I want to do a podcast with him a couple of weeks ago, talking more about Sunderland's journey because the journey fell on its knees, right? When they last went out the Premier League, they went straight out the Championship into League
Yep.
One, right? It's not Sunderland fans can recall losing 6-0 at Bolton, 5-1 at Rotherham, losing to clubs like Gillingham. It was on its knees. And I think that's why this has meant a little bit more as well. They know the journey that this could have ended up being seriously horrendous. They've obviously had the piss taken out of them for things like Sunderland Till I Die and stuff like that. A lot of people have watched it from a neutral perspective. But huge football club. I like you and pleased that they're back up. I like Sheffield as an away day. Sunderland's a bit further.
You've got to say
But,
Sheffield
but
United, mate, not Sheffield. They get upset with that.
no, I'm saying Sheffield is a decent away
Oh,
day.
sorry.
There are two clubs there. Fucking don't come for me, Blaze fans. I realise you're United. I was talking about the city, but I'm looking forward to going up to Sunderland. And to be honest, as much as we're saying it will struggle as it is, look, one, let's see how they get on in the transfer market is going to be really important. Two, though, none of us want to be the first away game there.
No, not under the lights and all of that nonsense.
No,
No,
none of us
Sky
want to.
licking their lips.
No, can we have them September, October? Just don't be the first away game. You know it's going to be like Sunderland against Man United night one or something, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. They're looking for their banana skin, aren't they?
Congratulations also to Charlton. Obviously beat Leyton Orient in the League One playoff final, finished 1-0. And congratulations to AFC Wimbledon. Shout out to Pete Featherstone, FPL team.
Yeah, go on, Pete.
Obviously, we partner with. Pete's a big Wimbledon fan. They beat Walsall 1-0. Yeah, poor Walsall. We remember with, I don't know, 15 points clear in January or something, ended up losing in the playoff final. And congratulations to my friends up in Aberdeen as well, who beat Celtic on penalties in the Scottish Cup final at the weekend as well. Clayton and I are going to debate a Premier League team of the season. We haven't pre-discussed this. Should we start with our choice for goalkeeper, Clates?
Yeah. So who's on your shortlist?
I've just written down 11, and I'm just gonna
Oh,
fight.
okay.
I'm just gonna fight for that 11, basically. So
Go
it's
on.
Vicario in goal, Porro at right back. There's no Tottenham players in here, guys.
So I feel like everyone will go Matt Sells in goal. And
Are you
I
are you clumping me into everyone already?
no, no,
Yeah,
no,
I've
not
got Matt
you.
Sales. Yeah,
Yeah, okay. So I've gone Raya, and I know people say this is the Arsenal bias, but hear me out. It's
do we
because
have
of
to
what?
hear you out?
No, no, it's not the why I'm justifying Raya. It's because of the centre backs. So where my head was at was I think I need someone from Forest and someone from Arsenal in defence. I There's only one Arsenal defender, in my opinion, that has a shout of being in the team of the season, and it's not Saliba or Gabriel, in my opinion. So therefore, I went for a Forest centre back and the Arsenal goalkeeper, which I feel logic wise is okay.
Okay, I do get your thing of. I mean, Arsenal have been underlying numbers wise and goals conceded the best defense in the league. But also, I don't think you've the individuals have had outstanding seasons. I get what you're saying about Ray. I think just if you're looking at Ray versus Sales, Forest have outperformed their expectation in terms of goals conceded. Ray and Sales have both kept the same number of clean sheets. Ultimately, Sales is playing behind an inferior defence to Raya.
Yeah, and that's what I think the key point you said there in terms of outperforming things. That a lot of that is on sales, right? And if I'm being honest, David Raya, I don't think has been as squeaky clean this season as last season. So like, I think last season he was actually better performance wise than this season. Like I said, my choice for having him in there was I wanted a piece of Arsenal defence, and I agree. I don't think there's many of them that individually can put their hand up, other than one who I'll throw out when we get to that position. But that's why I went there. But I've got no arguments with Sells. It was more from the perspective of there needs to be some kind of Arsenal coverage in a team of the season defensively, and I didn't know how to get it in there.
Does there have to be though?
I think so. If it's been the best defense, then yeah, you do.
I think Sales is the right call here.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not disputing that. To be fair.
Okay, there you go. Right, Nico, sort of graphic. Matt Sells is in goal. Right, you want to fight for a different Arsenal player then? Go on.
No, I don't want to fight for it. The one I want to throw his name into the conversation because I think he'll get missed. So I'll tell you what, Saliba Gabriel, I don't think should be in there. Gabriel only because of the injuries. I think if he stayed fit, he was on for a very good season. He was performing much better than Saliba, in my opinion. I think Saliba was slightly disappointing in little extended periods this season, and I don't think he looked great once Gabriel went. The one player I wanted to put in the conversation was Timber. I think he's been absolutely fantastic this season at right back. What he's done on the back of the ACL, his performance levels have been great, and I think he's the only one individually in defence over a sustained season at Arsenal that's been excellent. Like I said, I think Gabriel would have been there if he was fit, but he wasn't. But I've gone Munoz at right back because I think what he's done um, defensively, offensively, and I know people probably think, "Oh, is that influenced by the cup final?" Honestly, no. I think if I picked it 2, 3 weeks ago, I would have picked him. And I think I'm part influenced probably by you and Sudge there because I think within Planet FPL we all are a big fan of him, and I know sometimes you're influenced by people's FPL returns, but I think I think he's a fantastic. He's a wing back, isn't he? So it's cheating slightly to put him in a back four as a fullback, but that I've gone Munoz. But I did want to shout out Timber because I think he'd get lost in a lot of the discussions, and I think he's a credible shout. But yeah, Munoz has got the shirt for me at right back. Who have you gone for?
I'll just chat up and say, yeah, you can have Munoz.
You went Timber, did you?
Yeah, I've gone Timber. Yeah,
Fair play.
I think the first thing to say is I think the fullback positions, if you're putting together a team of the season, I think you could probably pick from 7 or 8 options on either side. In the sense, I don't think either side has had outstanding candidates.
Yeah,
Truthfully, I went for Timber because I think the consistency of the season he's had off the back of an ACL injury, I think's been really understated.
yeah,
He's managed to keep himself fit largely throughout the whole season. I recognise that in kind of the first portion, he'd largely played at left back quite a lot, but from Lewis Skelly's developments, obviously played on the right hand side quite a lot. And just think he's solid as very trustworthy, very comfortable on the ball, can play as someone will push up the touchline or push into midfield or cover round. A very difficult player to beat in duels. I just think he's been solid as actually Clates. And I agree with you, despite laughing at you. I do feel like an Arsenal player probably should find its way in here. And I think he's the only one. I think Lewis Skelly couldn't be considered because it's too late.
yeah. Agree.
I think if we're doing the whole season, I think it's had a really good kind of last 4 months or so. But if you're looking at the whole season, I mean, like Lucas Bergvall won Tottenham's Player of the Season and didn't start a
It
game
did.
until like January. Like, so for me, like that's wrong. But then I wouldn't have given Tottenham's Player of the Year to anybody. I'd have probably given it to Alfie Whiteman personally.
Was Trent close to getting the nod for you at all?
No, not really.
Same.
No, I mean, others to consider in terms of right back would have been like Ola Aina at Nottingham Forest.
Yep.
Certainly would have been under consideration. But when you looked around the other sides at the top, it's like, okay, Trent, no for me. City haven't had consistency in the position to well, Nunes. Chelsea, similarly, has it been like James or Gusto or Casado? It's like, no, none of that. I thought about Livramento, but again, I felt like he spent the last 3 months on the other side. I think that's the one that's harsh. I think Tino Livramento has had a really good season. So that was the one that felt harshest. So yeah, I gone Timber right back.
Fair play.
Centre backs.
So when I did this, obviously, like I said, I had Raya in goal, which is why I went for a Forest centre back. But the one I couldn't decide, I couldn't choose between Murillo or Milenkovic. So I just went Murillo. Couldn't really tell you why.
Yeah, don't like that.
Wrong
So
sides.
are you going Van Dyke?
Yeah, Van Dijk left centre back. So I should go Milenkovic, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, fair. Yeah, I don't have a preference. So
Yeah,
Milenkovic because
don't
he plays on the
I
right,
I
Van Dijk
wouldn't
on the left.
I think Van Dijk has been the outstanding defender in the league across the whole season. So shoe in for the left-sided centre back position for me. So that would rule out your Gabriels, Murillos, Levi Colwell, Josko Vardiol, rules them all out for me. Because I think Van Dijk is definitively left-sided centre back. I've gone for Kanate actually.
Ooh, that's a good shout. He started really strong.
Yeah, I think as well as also factoring in he's a player who go into pre-season and the fantasy element. Jarrell Quansah 4.0 is going to play every game. Calm down. And pretty much since obviously half time at Ipswich in game week 1, he's locked that down when a lot of people thought he wouldn't be first choice. He's also been obviously quite injury prone historically. He did have one injury during the course of the season, but it was very unfortunate in terms of the way he got landed on in a challenge. I think he's largely kept himself fit. I think he's been non-fussy. I think he's a good partner for Van Dijk as well. I think when you've got Trent on the outside, he has to push out and go and be quite aggressive quite a lot. I think he does all those things quite well. And I think because of Van Dijk's season, his has been largely overlooked. And what I've thought about is I think like Milenkovic is a great shout. I actually think you're a little bit harsh on Saliba, but has been more error prone recently than he has been in previous seasons. When ultimately I thought about it, right sided centre back, I think actually the right answer here is Kanate. That's how I feel about it. And it's been
Why
because
him over
because
Milenkovic?
Van Dijk is like the definitive one to have in. I feel like he like you said about Timber, and I obviously have gone for Timber as well. I feel like Kanate has been overlooked for having a pretty good season.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah. Did you think? that is part influence because you got Sells in goal. So like, if you couldn't pick a Forest keeper, do you think you would have gone Milenkovic rather
But
than
I
two
wouldn't have gone
Liverpool centre?
Allison.
No, true.
Like for me, goalkeeper was quite straightforward, Matt Sells. So I tried not to. I know what you're saying. Yeah, I feel like Forest should be in there and Arsenal should be in there. But I'd even thought like with Forest, it's like the underlying data is not great, by the way.
Yeah.
So if you to relate back to Milenkovic, it's like actually Sells in goal. Actually, I think is the outstanding Forest one to put in. Whereas there were more competition for the right-sided centre back. Like I would shout out in that position as well. Like Ilya Zabani, I think had a really good season at Bournemouth, for example. But I think the way they tailed off at the end, I did this in halfway and I actually put Zabani in as my
You say
right-sided
that
centre
again.
back.
You did it. What?
Halfway during this, I did like a halfway team of the
Oh,
season for our
okay.
patrons. I actually put Zabani in at halfway, but I think they've tailed off over the last sort of dozen games or so. So I think Kanate actually.
Yeah, I like that. Left back. You said you on
Oh, it
either
could be
flank.
so many.
Yeah.
Really good because I think Clayton's turned his camera off. That's interesting. Lewis Skelly would be come into consideration potentially. I don't think Robertson or Shimikas. Vardio, ironically, I think would for many Manchester City fans probably be their player of the year. But actually, when they first started having bad results, he was a consequence. I mean, against us in the 4-0 defeat, he was really
I was
bad,
gonna
for
say
example.
my perhaps unpopular opinion. He doesn't get close to the team of the season at left back for me.
No, I agree. And he's been playing centre back quite recently. I think Lewis Hall was really unlucky to have the injury, kind of rules him out. Robinson and Kirkes,
They're the two that I was flipping between personally.
which one you gone for?
I landed on Robinson. And
Okay.
I feel like a lot of people go Kirkes. And I feel like Robinson, I don't know why. I feel like he's gone under the radar. And I didn't actually look to see output wise who got more out of the two. I imagine Kirkes probably did. But every time I watch Robinson, I feel like I like fullbacks that can do both, not just the attacking stuff. And I'm not saying Kirkes can't, but I do feel like Robinson is a more competent defender as well as good going forward. Whereas Kirkes, I think, is primarily his strengths lay in kind of attacking in the final third. He's still a he's still a decent defender, but I think Robinson is the better overall one. And yeah, in my opinion, from I can't confess to have watched Bournemouth or Fulham every single game, but from the periods I have seen both, I think Robinson's been pretty consistent for them.
Um, Double figures for assists,
Who's
Anthony
that?
Robinson this season.
Was it?
10, yeah. I think it's only Salah and Jacob Murphy, I think more. It might have been someone
Jesus.
else overtaking that final day, yeah. Same assists as Saka, I think. Saka missed half a season, I get that. 10 assists, a lot of them early on in the season. I think for Anthony Robinson, he's obviously been carrying an injury for pretty much 3 months. And I think his performances over the last third of this season haven't been to the standard they were in the first two thirds, if you will. And I think he's unfortunate that the injury is probably significant reason for that. He's also missed the odd game because of this injury. And when I've seen little bits of him more recently, I used to have this thing with him where I genuinely felt every time I watched him, if he had a good game, the next time I watched him, you could be absolutely certain he was going to be shit.
Oh, really?
I felt that about him. Every time I thought, oh, you're a good player. And the next time I'd watch him, be like, oh, he's had a fucking nightmare here.
Did you
And then
feel
it,
that
and then
this
it'd go
season?
the other way again. So I think he was a player that really struggled for consistency. I think he's had consistently a very good season. I don't think he's been great over the last third. But I
Fair.
think that's a consequence of his injury. So I think
Yeah.
he's quite unfortunate in that respect. Milos Kerkez is going to get a move, no doubt about it. Defensively improved a lot, I think, on his first year with the club, and offensively, I think he's going to end up going to like a Liverpool or something, and
Yeah,
and
that
he's going to
feels.
be first choice, and we'll probably sit in 12 months and go, yeah, it's Kerkez, like it's the best
Oh,
left back in
yeah.
the league. I think there's every chance we'll be saying that. I've not gone for either.
Oh, I'm trying to think. Who's a name we've not mentioned?
Well, I'll give you another name we've not mentioned. I've not gone through. I think it's worth a shout because I think he actually has got better and better the longer the season's gone on. Actually, is another Forest player. I think Nico Williams has
Yeah.
got better and better the longer this season has gone on. And left back was a real problem position for them, and he's solved the problem.
Have you gone Cucurella?
I've gone Cucurella, yeah.
Yeah, fair play. I like
I
that's a
think
niche shout. I like that.
I think he's got some bloody important goals for them. over the last few months, which actually has been pretty definitive in terms of them getting over the line for Champions League qualification. And also, I think considering where he was at from his first season at Chelsea, like his first 4 or 5 months, I think it's fair to say, in Chelsea's fans' eyes, were disastrous. He really
Yeah.
wasn't good. He looked a bit lost quite a lot of the time. And I went there towards the end of last season, and he played quite well against us. But I think he'd been so bad for them that there was almost this ironic appreciation for him. Like, and he's one of them players that you can't miss him because of the hair and stuff, right? He does, like it or not, because of his haircut, he does stand out more on a football pitch. You can't not see him. So I think he's a player that garners more attention. So when he's bad, like it really notices. Like actually, I think he's had two major errors leading to goals this year. I think, and that basically
Were
slipped
they
twice.
both? Yeah.
He slipped twice at Tottenham
Yeah.
when they beat us 4-3. It's one
That
of
was
them
funny.
things. But I think he had an outstanding European Championship with Spain, where people like he's been one of the best left backs in the tournament. And I think he's really kicked on again. I don't think any Chelsea fans would debate he's been their best left back this season as well. Got better and better the longer it's gone on. He can play tuck in as a left-sided centre back. You can push him down the wing. He's played kind of moving into left-sided 10 positions quite uniquely. He's actually become a bit of a unique box crasher on occasions. Think of the goal against Manchester United the other week. So I actually think over the course of the whole season, and the fact there's something achieved, and they might win a trophy tonight as well. I'd say Mark Cucurella for left back, actually.
Yeah, I like that. Very hipster niche shout. Very nice. Midfield.
Are you not arguing against any of them? I've just got my team so far.
Yeah, yeah, I like it. I like the arguments for all of them.
I
So,
think you can have Munoz at right back. I'm happy for you to have that if you want it. Just sack off Timber, so we got no Arsenal in
no,
this
no,
team.
we'll keep Timbers. We'll stick with your one.
Okay.
Midfield, I did struggle with. To be fair, I think here, especially because of the profiles, I feel like the attacking midfielders in this league this season have been pretty disappointing. So a lot of the midfielders I found myself gravitating towards were like 6, 8 rather than your Brunos. Like Odegaard's had a poor season, and yeah, how should we do this?
Well, I've done this 6-8-10.
Oh, so you have got a 10 in there.
Yeah, and right winger, left winger, and a striker. That's
Yeah,
that's the way I've done it, and I felt that was the right way to do it to kind of identify who'd been best six, best eight, best 10,
okay.
basically. But I think, yeah, you could definitely do this and go, yeah, I'm just going to go with a flatter midfield
Yeah,
three,
I literally just picked
or
three. I was like, so usually,
or go 4-2-3-1. Like you
I'll
could
be
lean it
honest,
either way.
this one this season is probably the one I struggle with the most because usually when I do this, I always try to pick the right profiles for the right system I want to play. I try to think if I've got a certain left winger, I need a certain left back to partner with him. Like I really struggled with it this season, and I think it says it all with the midfield. Should I just say the three I've gone for in midfield?
Yeah, go on. I think I know what it is.
Go on.
I think you've gone Gravenberch, McAllister, Casado.
Fucking hell, am I that obvious?
Yeah. Yeah, the way once you'd said you were going with flatter three, I think it had to be that. There were two players I've left out of my team which feel rough to leave out, and one of mine is Casado.
Yeah, I think he's probably been the best centre mid this season, if I'll be honest. I ahead of Gravenberch, and I think I'm part influenced, but I feel like Caicedo has grown as the season's gone, and Gravenberch started so strong. I think against expectations, we were like, "Wow, how slots repositioned him, how they're doing." And I'm not saying he fell off. I just think his I don't know, maybe it just became less of a novelty thing, and we just got used to it a bit more. But I do think Caicedo's performances every time I've seen him, he's been a fucking monster this season, in my opinion. Tonali was one I thought I wanted to include, but didn't quite squeeze him in.
Yeah, I thought Rodri was good for City's first three games as well. Yeah, Casado, I can definitely be convinced on Aaron Casado because I think he's been had an outstanding season. But I think what had it was almost not helped in the sense that quite often he's ended up in a two. So I think the outstanding six has been Gravenberch. And I think again it's also factoring in like some of my picks here, which I've kind of referenced with like Cucurella and Canate. For me, there was no expectation on him in pre-season to even play that position. never mind be the best in the
Yeah.
league at it. And I think actually you reflect on it now and go, if Liverpool hadn't had Gravenberch this season, how different might have this been? So that's been definitive. Slot's use of him and his ability to play that position has way exceeded what people thought it could be.
Do you think it did throughout the whole season though? Because I do think it petered off slightly. You know, there was
But I
that
think
period where
all
we
of
were talking
Liverpool
about.
petered off.
No, but I mean prior to them confirming the league, like there was definitely a period. I want to say February to April where we were talking about more on patron stuff. We were doing like, oh, like there looks like there's slight vulnerabilities, this that, and I think that coincided slightly with a ever so slight drop off in his performances, which I don't think Caicedo had, even with what you're saying with him in the twos.
But then, see, you say that about Casado, but like Chelsea's winter period, after ironically that 4-3 at Tottenham, was pretty shit.
True.
They had a
Yeah,
really good
they
run
were
of
awful actually.
fixtures.
Yeah.
They were third, and it didn't kick on.
Yeah, because I remember we were talking about that sea of green fixtures. If they keep winning, could they be in the title race? Actually, I forgot about that. Yeah.
I think for his achievements this year, I think Gravenberch deserves a place in this team.
So he's the six you've gone for.
I'm I'm prepared to debate out. I think Gravenberch's got to go in. I'm prepared to debate out Casado versus McAllister with you, which we'll come back
Oh,
onto
see,
because you've obviously put both in.
yeah. See, I think McAllister's been the better player than Gravenberch this season. Different roles, get it?
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I think if you went more of a like a 4-2-3-1 and you went, I'm not going to have a six, I'm going to have kind of 2-6-8. Yeah, I could definitely go with McAllister and Casado. I can't argue it. But I
Yeah,
just think Gravenberch, as I said, because no one expected nothing of him,
yeah.
I think he deserves to go in.
Yeah, fair. I guess my unpopular thing is I don't think his performances over the whole season were as exceptional as everyone makes out. I think he started the first half unbelievably. I don't think the second half of his season was as strong as everyone remembers.
I've put Cole Palmer in.
Fucking hell. I'm not having that. I'm not having that.
All
Are
right,
you
tell me
having me
why.
on?
Tell me why you're not having it.
Because he's been shit for about half a year. He's he's disappeared. I there was okay. This is where, to be fair, I don't like the logic I'm about to give because that's not usually the way I think. But output wise, he just hasn't been there. Even though I'm not someone that loves using that as a predictive measure, but I just don't think his performances have been good. I've seen Chelsea fans disappointed with him, saying he's hiding in games. I'm very surprised you've done that.
I can definitely say that he's not been at his best over actually a significant period here, 3 to 4 months. Fine. I've seen a lot of people talking about Bruno Fernandes recently, and I think Bruno Fernandes clearly been Manchester United's best player. But I think this is recency bias and
Agree with
forgetting
that.
about the first half of the season. And I think we are influenced by the ends more than the starts. Cole Palmer has put up 25 attacking returns this season, which for a number 10, I think is pretty
Yeah, yeah, that's
dreamy. It's
very good.
pretty
Yeah, yeah.
good. It gets better when you consider that it's 21 from the first 21 and it's only four since. Okay, so I get that. That's like a whole half of the season. It was like four attacking returns in 79 games. You're like, you can't believe it. But he was so good in those first 21 games that for me, were it not for the freakish nature of what Mo Salah was doing, in January, we'd have been all going, that's the player of the year in the whole league.
Yeah, but that's why you can't because it's over a few more months after that, right? It's not just until January, and I think that's the thing. It's team of the season, not team until January, right? So if it was half, absolutely. But
I
I
hear
think
you.
the performances after that, I mean, it was terrible.
Was it?
Okay, not terrible, but
I watched him. He looked great against Liverpool a couple of weeks ago.
yeah, but like that was definitely an anomaly compared to the rest of his performances since January. Like he
People in
has been
December,
well on.
January were asking if he was the best footballer in the world, mate.
Were they?
Yes, mate. And it's like no one's saying it at this moment, are they?
I
Admittedly,
don't
people have seen
remember
a bit
that.
more of Lamine Yamal since, but
So the one thing I definitely don't dispute was his performances until January. Yeah, it was a joke. But I do think if you're going to disappear from January to May, like that removes any sort of credibility of him being in a team of the season.
Disappears harsh, isn't it?
I don't think so. I think he's been terrible. Like I really think he's been poor for the second half of the season.
I just think his first half of the season was that good.
But is that so? So people can just like light it up for 2-3 months and then disappear for half a season.
But I'm saying if he'd have had what I'm kind of alluding to here is if he'd have had some of the performances he's had in September, October, and they were spread across the season, rather than having an absolutely phenomenal 6 months and then a terrible 3 months, granted, then I think we just go. He's had a brilliant football season. He's probably been the best number 10 in the league.
Yeah, but he didn't, and that's I think this is the consistency, right? Because then otherwise there'll be so many people across seasons that have
But
purple
but this is my
patches and
point. I'm seeing teams of the season now with Bruno Fernandes
oh yeah, no, I
in,
wouldn't
and
have
it's
him
like,
in
tell me
mine.
about Bruno Fernandes' first 3 months of the season. It's the other way round, right?
Yeah, agree. Yeah, which is why he didn't get into mine. Um, yeah, I don't know. I just think it's too extreme in terms of so good to then 4 attacking returns since January. I think you said it was like that. That is just not a level of consistency. I think that gets you into a team of the season. Like you said, if it was a half thing, and if player of the season was decided in January, sure. But like February, March, April, May are still months that contribute towards the season where his performance levels weren't good enough, in my
If you were
opinion.
picking a different 10
That's
specifically, who
who
would
would
you
it
pick
be?
instead? Like
And
you were
this
saying, like Fernandez. Who else
that's
would we put in the conversation?
well, this is why I think the standard of creativity in this league this season has been pretty poor because I don't remember struggling so much in this position. And I don't know if that's a systematic thing that's more of like a meta conversation in terms of where football's going, the
Well, there's a
reduction
lot
of
of
pure
teams
number
don't play
10s.
with one, right? So
Exactly,
like
yeah.
Newcastle was like a really good case. You look at their midfield three and go, none of them are a 10. Like,
Honestly,
whereas with Arsenal, you'd still look at Odegaard as the 10. With Chelsea, you still look at Palmer as the 10. Liverpool, is it Szoboszlai?
I think yeah, that's who I tend to think of. Could you cheat and put like an Eze there, even though he doesn't really? He's like the kind of left 10.
Again, is another one, mate, right? The sun only shines for 3 months of the year. No, for me, across the whole season.
Who Eze?
Yeah, until like April, they scored like 2 league goals, mate. I
Yeah.
can't be going to like a team of the season.
Yeah, no, this is why I went with like the flat 3 because I
I
couldn't
get it.
find a credible 10 that I thought was deserving. So like if it was like gun to your head, you had to pick a number 10, it probably would be Palmer, but more because of the lack of quality elsewhere. But that's why I kind of tried to cheat my way out of it and pick a different system.
Okay. On Casado versus McAllister, which one for you, if it had to be just one?
Oh, that's horrible. That is horrible. Because I think Liverpool have won the league, so they'll get more of the attention on their players and stuff. But I honestly think Caicedo's campaign has been really, really, really impressive. Uh, Probably would be
I can
McAllister.
be tempted here to go both and just leave Palmer out.
Yeah, I do think that's the right call.
Plus, I got to let you win one argument, otherwise it just looks like bullying, and that's not
I
right,
want to
really,
see. I
because
want to see the comments on Palmer. To be fair,
you're
because
bigger than me. Well, I just do think ultimately is what Cole Palmer is still being across the whole season the best 10 in the league. I know it's going to upset some Man
but that's
United fans, but that's how I feel.
but that's because everyone else has been shit. It's like, yeah. I'm
I
glad you said that
definitely,
about Bruno though, because
I definitely agree that leaving Casado out this team is wrong. But I
it's not
also
wrong.
think
It's just it's because
I
we're not
do
even spoken
think
about Rice, have we?
if Cole Palmer had the last 6 months that he had in the first 6 months, he'd be in everyone's team.
Yeah, I agree. Like you're definitely right on that. We are influenced by how seasons end than they start. But yeah, I don't know. I just think that is too long to
And
be
also,
performing like that.
everybody watching this or listening to this is heavily influenced by the fantasy returns as well.
Yeah, but yeah, one player we not even mentioned. Like I'm not saying he deserves to be in it, but it says a lot about the performances of like Caicedo, Gravenberch. Like Rice hasn't even been in this conversation, and I think he's been pretty good to be fair. But yeah, I think the others have performed better.
All right, I'm prepared to go Casado, McAllister, and no Palmer.
Bruno, Guimaraes, Tonali, any of them get close to it for you?
I just think ultimately leaving Casado out felt wrong anyway.
Yeah,
So no.
very good
Um,
season.
No, did nothing else. I think pushed that enough. I think Casado, McAllister, and Gravenberch has been the outstanding three over anything else for me. So
I'm intrigued till you've gone. Sorry, I'm jumping. I'm
I've
just
gone
intrigued.
Salah right wing. Should we spoil that now?
Yeah, but
He's
the
also
left
been shit for 2 months. Should we leave him out?
the left wing spot was the one that done me. But yeah, even Salah. This is what I hate about these things. Like
Just leaving
Salah's.
Bumo out is,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's
just like
stupid.
how, what, why? It's
I'm really sorry. I can't be having teams that are like, oh, I'm going to play Bumo on the left. Right.
nah,
You've
me
never
either.
seen him
He's
play
not
there. I
playing there.
can't have
Yeah.
it. I
So can
can't
I
have
tell?
it.
I can't remember if I said this to you before we went live or when we went live, but I tried to cheat, but I don't know if it's cheating.
Go on.
Could we get away with Isaac left wing?
No, man. No, no, that's nonsense, man. Just because he's ended up there like once or twice late in the game.
It's
No,
once or twice more than we've
no,
seen Bumo there.
no. No,
Because even Chris,
not having Brian Bumo in this team is horrible.
same with
I'm
Chris Wood.
sorry. The best right-sided forward in the league has been Mo Salah,
Oh yeah, there's no,
and that is where Brian Bumo has played all season. So I'm
yeah,
sorry, it's got to be Salah.
and I felt the same about Chris Wood. Like similar to what you were saying about expectations with other players. Like what did he finish on? Was it 20 league goals in the end? Chris Wood. Can't actually
Uh,
remember.
Close enough. If
Yeah,
not,
like
yeah,
what he did was
great season.
exceptional. Yeah, and even that, I felt like that was consistent over periods. I feel like it was consistently like one in two, 3 games he was returning. It wasn't like it didn't feel like he went on one mad long run and then there was a big long stretch where he disappeared. But I feel like Isaac, he's just a joke, isn't he?
Yeah, it's got to be a sack.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but it feels horrible leaving Wood out.
No, it doesn't.
Nah, really.
Doesn't.
This
Yeah,
I was kind of
you should never leave your wood out. Like,
no, yeah, would not recommend. I was trying to go 4-4-2 so I could make that happen. But no, alas, Isaac, yeah, phenomenal player. Left wing, I'm intrigued.
yeah, look, just shout out for Chris Wood has had an incredible scored 20 goals, not in a row. Brilliant season, right? Goal scoring feat's great. But in terms of the player and what we've actually watched and enjoyed this season, it has to be Alexander Isak across the
Yeah,
course of the whole season.
he's a joy.
Haaland doesn't come into the reckoning. He's unbelievable to think. I mean, 22 goals scored in the league is
Yeah,
still
I
like
know.
it's a great total, isn't it? But he's also it's 15 since game week 4. So spin that how you want. And I think also to acknowledge Joran Visser, an incredible
True.
season
Forgot about him to be fair.
as
Yeah,
well at Brentford. Absolutely brilliant performance this season. Go on, who you gone left wing then? Come on. I know who it is for me.
as in you know who I've gone for,
But no, I know who we're going to end up agreeing on.
Gordon.
No.
Oh, okay, no, that's not who I've got. I just wasn't sure who we'd agree because I struggled. So I went Eze, but more because I couldn't really think of anyone. Like I think left wing is the spot, like number 10, where I couldn't think of anyone that over the course of 38 has really made it theirs.
This is why people put teams together and put like Boomer out
Boom.
there and
Yeah,
stuff like that, and or Bowen. I mean, Jared Bowen as well, another right winger who's just got better and better the longer the season's gone on. No, can't find a place for it. For me, this is quite straightforward. It's Cunha.
as a left wing. Yeah,
Yeah, he's been the left-sided forward for the
I
majority of
know.
the season
Yeah,
for Wolves. I think he's had moments of individual brilliance, which is why he's ending up with the move that he's getting. There's games where it's felt like he's carried them, and he's generally had moments. I think of the late goal against Aston Villa generally had me sitting in my chair applauding at the brilliance of it. His performance when they beat Manchester United, ironically, sensational. He was
yeah,
worth watching the game just by him alone. So I think in an average side who've managed to get themselves up the table and done much better under Vitor Pereira, I think Cunha,
yeah. No,
despite stupid red cards and stealing people's glasses and stuff, I think Cunha left wing.
yeah, I like it because if we did pick a system where it was 2 forwards behind a striker, he would have definitely been in it. So like my thing was I just didn't naturally think of him as a left winger, but
Also, now we ain't got Palmer in this team. Like at least Salah Isak Cunha is going to get us enough goals here. I think.
I wish there was a way you could see these in like exhibition matches or something. It'd be so fun to watch an actual.
FIFA.
Yeah, but you want to see it in real life, don't you?
Not really, because I don't think that team would lose many games. It's going to be
Uh,
quite tough to play against.
all right, no, I like that shout. I like that a lot because
I
that's the one position I struggled with the most.
Yeah, I think like Eze's had a great end to the season. I think
But
for
like you
team of
say,
the
it's an
season, no.
end, right? Yeah, that's why. So he was in there because I couldn't think of anyone else. I agree on the consistency there. Like I
I, f-
don't think it
I
was
think if
over
you
the
said
course
to
of the season.
Newcastle fans about Gordon, they'd say no. I think in patches, I think both Luis Diaz when he's played there or Cody Gakpo when they played there, done fine. Obviously, you can't consider Marmoush on his short period, and he seems to be playing all over the place anyway. No, I don't think it was enough. You wouldn't be Martinelli in this or Trossard
No
in this
way.
conversation. No, I don't think so. I think if you were to go Forest attacker, it's like Wood, and then it's kind of Elanga has on occasion played there, but Hudson-Odoi plays there enough as well. Gibbs White is probably a player we probably should have mentioned, and Morgan Rogers are players we should have mentioned when talking about tens. By the way, because I considered Morgan Rogers as potentially for this left-sided forward role as well. I think he probably should be young player of the year. I
Yeah.
think Morgan Rogers. So, but actually, yeah, left-sided forward for me is pretty straightforward,
Yeah,
Cunha.
Rogers is a shout. I forgot about him as well. Yeah, I would have had him over Palmer
Oh
if we
no,
were
no, no, no. Right, I think we're agreed anyway. So we're gonna go Sells, Timber, Canate, Van Dyke, Cucurella. Clates is just thrilled at the hipster on that. So we'll go Gravenberch, Casado, and McAllister, Salah, Isak, Cunha. I think
War a
that's
team.
that's the Planet FPL team of the season. Suj, if you're watching, please disagree with what you want in your comments. Put Suchek there or wherever you fancy instead. Right, take us to Italy, Clates, for the Euro focus.
Jamie Carragher's favourite team, Internationale.
Uh-oh.
We are at Inter Milan. They're obviously in the Champions League final this weekend against PSG, trying to win it for the first time since 2010. They're obviously in the final. Was that 2023 against Man City? Yeah. So
Yes,
that
yeah.
was only 2 years ago. Yeah, what Inzaghi's done is pretty impressive. But yeah, their history goes back a long way. 1908, they were founded. And it was like a breakaway from AC Milan. So
Mm.
AC Milan, yeah, I didn't know that. AC Milan apparently had like a ban on foreign players, and a group within that who then became the pioneers of Inter Milan wanted to kind of make a team that was a bit more rebellious and a bit more worldwide and have people that can come in from foreign countries. And their name, Internationale, was exactly that. It's a direct statement of intent, which is football beyond borders. And one of their founding mottos, it was a big paragraph, but like some of the key words in there are, we are brothers of the world. But yeah, as we all know, they share the stadium with AC Milan's, the iconic San Siro, also known as officially known as the Stadio Giuseppe Meazza, which we've both been to. There's been lots of talks about their stadium, right? In terms of there was meant to be plans to knock it down, rebuild it, this and that. But I'll talk about what's happening there in a second. They're essentially both building or planning to build their own ones now. I don't know what the timelines are on that, but it'll be interesting to see what happens because of Inter Milan's ownership model and everything, which again I'll come to in a sec. There's been a lot of change with them in the last year, and depending how Saturday is the final on Saturday, yeah. Depending how Saturday's final go, it'll be interesting to see what happens with them this summer. But yeah, going a little bit back to their history. Yeah, like I said, they've been sharing the San Siro, the Stadio Giuseppe Meazza. It was named after an ex-player who controversially played for both teams, and they've been sharing it since the 1940s.
I think it was within to 14 years though, and AC only two, I think.
Okay, fair play. But yeah, as we've both been there, like you can definitely understand. I think it's so iconic in terms of the visuals of it when you kind of see it from the outside and stuff. But as we've both spoken about before, the facilities on the inside it's a bit
Questionable.
behind. Yeah, questionable. A bit behind modern standards. The toilet situation, as James loves, is very interesting. But you can really what one thing I can't work out if this is a safety issue or just very cool. But when I
What,
was in there,
shitting on a hole on the
no,
floor?
no,
What?
no, no. I'm going with
Is
the
that a
next.
safety issue? Yeah, it is for
No.
me. Yeah.
But no, the point I was going to talk about was when the ultras are kind of bouncing and the whole stadium gets going, you can feel it moving. And I can't work out if that is cool or just a dated infrastructure. But yeah, you can understand why they've put plans in place to try and knock it down, rebuild it, build new ones. They did have a plan in place together, Inter and AC, to build a joint stadium, which would have been known as the Cathedral. But there was lots of like bureaucracy issues and stuff like that. And yeah, that's why each club is now planning to build their own one. Inter's is likely to be in the city of Rosano. And yeah, after nearly 80 years, the divorce is incoming. So good efforts. In terms of golden,
I wouldn't be certain on that. This of these two clubs leaving the San Siro has been going on for as long as I can remember.
yeah.
And I
Well,
think it's largely been something pushed more by AC. That's been how I've interpreted it anyway. And I've always had the suspicion that once AC gone in, it went, yeah, bye bye, and we're going to stay now.
yeah. The only reason I actually went like 2, 3 years ago was because I heard they were knocking it down. So I was like, I have to go see the San Siro. So I actually went for the Milan derby, which was pretty cool. But yeah, like you say, it's been something that's been going on for a long time. So one of those, just watch this space, see if they change their mind again. They've had a few like golden eras. One was in the 60s under a manager called Helenio Herrera. They actually won back-to-back European Cups there. I think from memory it was 63, 64, but it was definitely in the 60s. Between 2006, 2010, obviously that's when Juventus's collapse happened. So they really capitalized on that. Mourinho arrived, famously won the treble 2010, Serie A, Coppa Italia, the Champions League. That team was an absolute joke. Snyder, Eto,
I
Melito.
tell you what, I didn't realize because, and you know me, I'm not one for a Mourinho dig, but I didn't realize really that he'd inherited a team that had already won three Scudettos in a
The team
row
was
before he took over.
exceptional.
Yeah, it was already great. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a clip that's been doing the rounds recently where he was like, "Oh, the president asked me, who do you need to win the Champions League?" And he was like, "I need a fast centre back to play a high line in Lucio. I think Schneider in midfield, and then like a bagsman." So they got Melito, and I think that season when they won the treble, Melito scored in every final as well. So came in clutch in that campaign. And yeah, obviously the Inzaghi era now, he's been there since 2021 and he's done exceptional for them. Just the level of consistency. They won their 20th Scudetto last season, so they got the kind of famous second star on their badge. Like I said, they got to the Champions League final again in 2023. This season, they narrowly missed out on Serie A. We covered them a few weeks ago, them and Napoli going for it. Napoli obviously won. Scott McTominay loving life out in Naples. But yeah, Inzaghi's done absolutely brilliant for them. And yeah, what I was saying about off the pitch, this will be interesting. So there's probably one for you and such to do more money in football and patron, to be fair. So from 2016 to 2024, they were owned by a company called Suning, which are a Chinese like retail company. They're quite a big deal. They pumped a lot of money in. They obviously won like quite a lot of trophies in that period. But then they basically just collapsed. And in 2021, they actually took a 275 million euro loan from a company, a hedge fund company called Oak Tree Capital, based in the US. Last year, May 2024, this hedge fund company actually seized control of Inter, and it was just days before they actually won the Scudetto. But like the key thing is, this isn't a football like this isn't a passion project or anything. It isn't someone that's a football person behind it's a financial company coming in to potentially seize assets and balance the books. So I don't know if there'll be player sales. I don't know if they'll. It's funny we're talking about the stadium. Will it? Won't it? I wonder if they'll try to accelerate that because at the moment the San Siro is actually owned by the city. So the two of them kind of lease it and rent it like the London Stadium. So I don't know if there'll be something in that in accelerating their own plans for their new stadium because then it's their own profits, perhaps. But that's going to be an interesting one to watch because when I found that out and saw the situation about their financial situation and the change of ownership, season control last year by a hedge fund, I'd be nervous if I was an Inter fan hearing all of that. But yeah, that's a bit about their kind of financial and ownership situation. But I think the thing with Inter is as you go through the years, some of their like iconic players, iconic moments that they've had as a football club. In the 60s, there were players like Vecchetti, Masola, Bergami was one in the 80s that came up quite a lot. Ronaldo, obviously, the original Ronaldo going there in the 90s. And yeah, the period in the 2000s, some of the players they had there were an absolute joke. I think Zanetti is probably known as their kind of iconic
One
captain.
of the most underrated footballers, I would say, in football history. Javier
Underrated, really?
Zanetti. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh wow. But yeah, he made
What a
like
player.
over
Right back, midfield, whatever you want to do with him, he's still often the best player on the pitch.
yeah, but over 800 appearances he made, and even managers like they've, yeah, some of the greats. Like I said, Herrera, he was the one that won the back-to-back European Cups. They had Trapattoni there. He built them up in, I think, around the 80s. Obviously, we spoke about Mourinho. I know he did inherit the team, but to go and win that treble with them in those circumstances was pretty
Yeah, and
impressive.
that's the only Italian team that's done that as well. So that's an incredible achievement.
Yeah, and Inzaghi, who's yeah, doing very well with their consistency at the
I
minute. So
thought Jose had to get his Tottenham dig in the other day, didn't he?
did he? What did he say? I didn't see it.
It's like, the owner would be happy. Money from
Uh
Champions League. He had to get his. He was like, congratulations, but he had to get a little dig in, didn't he?
yeah, but like I think the kind of thing to tee it up for this Saturday is I just find it mind blowing how the manager's building this level of consistency with the team he's got. You look at the midfield of like Calhanoglu, like Barella, fair enough, like box to box midfielder. He's pretty. I look at Calhanoglu and Mkhitaryan, and I think how is this manager getting the most out of them? And it's not a team that I ever look at on paper and I fear. But system wise, he absolutely maximizes everything from the way the wing backs work to the three centre backs, the midfield runners, the two up top in Lautaro and Thuram. Typically, it's absolutely astonishing what he's done. And I think like the final is probably the ultimate clash in styles, right? You've got the kind of free flowing PSG team that play the beautiful football. And I don't want to reduce Inter Milan to this, but like they're more of like the kind of systematic, very functional team, I'd say.
But Inter will be quite happy with this, I think. It
Yeah.
does feel like it might be the right opponent for Inter. I ain't ruling them out at all.
No, definitely not. But another fun stat: they've never lost two European finals in a row. So could history be on their side come Saturday? I personally never put any weight on those sort of things, but I know some people do. So there's a little bit of trivia. But yeah, the route to the final in 2023, I forgot they bloody beat AC in the semis, didn't they?
In 2023,
Yeah.
did they?
Have I got that wrong? Have I written that wrong? The fact that you doubted it made me say that. I want
Um,
to say that's what I've written in my notepad, and I've now got
I,
it.
do you know what? I know they had two massive games with AC in the Champions League. One got abandoned, didn't it? And this is going back sort of 20 odd years. And they had another one they lost on. I think they lost on away goals. I think they like
That was
they
2000.
drew 1-1 at home and lost and drew 0-0 away. I think, which is gutting because obviously the two games were played in the same stadium. Who did they beat in the semi 2023? You sure it was
But
AC?
I thought I was sure. I wrote it down, so I must have been. But now your reaction made me doubt it. But
Oh no,
what I
you're
wrote down,
right.
yeah,
Actually, no. You are right. AC Milan beat my team in the last 16, and then beat Napoli. The draw had unfolded. It was like Napoli are going to get to the final. They should do it. Napoli's stronger than the team that's won the Scudetto this year, in my opinion. And they blew it. Yeah. So you're right. Yeah, the two
the
Milan
one,
clubs did play in the semi.
the other one you were talking about was in 2003 when they got knocked out on away goals, and yeah, obviously in 2010 it was Bayern that they beat to win the treble. So yeah, amazing what they've done, especially in the modern era. But I'm keeping a very close eye to see what happens given the ownership situation, to be honest, because that could be interesting.
Well,
Yeah, and this gone.
uh, you say Money in Football podcast.
Have you done it?
T-shirt. Got it. Yeah. Me
Oh,
and James Johnson, who's our kind of resident in-house Italian expert patron, did a podcast on the 30th of November 2023, which we titled Into Trouble, where at that point the situation looked so bad there was a genuine threat of repossession of the football club. So my understanding is the problems are nowhere near as significant as that now. So, although you would have maybe a little bit of concerns, this is better than what the devil was looking like 18 months ago, Clates, would be my understanding of the take. There was genuine, real concern with the amount of money that was owed under the Chinese ownership. So, yeah, people have their own opinions about hedge funds, etc., etc. But I think it's probably better than where it was. James, give me an update. James, do we need to do an updated? I'm not talking to myself, by the way. James Johnson, do we need to do an updated Inter Milan podcast? Let me know.
I think you should, just because everything I was reading about the seizing of, Oak Tree coming in last year, it sounded like it wasn't planned. So I definitely think there's something in that.
It's something I'd say the football club.
Yeah.
It was in a bad way. I do think PSG will win, and I think PSG have more sources and routes to danger. Essentially, I think if PSG can keep the front two quiet, I think they can then lay down a domination during the game. I expect them to have a lot of the ball. I think they'll win the game. Have they got the experience to get over the line? I think very importantly, Enrique does,
Yeah.
and
Could
that will pay. And I think there is enough big game experience, even though they haven't got over a Champions League. I don't think they've got any Champions League winners in the team. I don't think so.
to enter?
No PSG.
Oh, PSG.
Don't think so. But
No,
there's
don't think
so
so.
much big game experience there.
Could you see
So
any
much.
situation where we see similar periods to that Barca semi-final?
What, that it ends up wild?
Yeah, like
No,
no, just because PSG are more
no.
coherent.
I think ultimately, and across the two legs, that Inter deserved it. Well done. But the carnage of that semi final was more to do with Barcelona
Yeah,
than Inter. It's Inter preying on Barcelona's weaknesses, but also Barcelona being absolutely good enough to be able to damage a team as defensively well set as Inzaghi's and still score 6 times against them.
yeah,
I imagine, like many of the finals we watched recently, I don't think it'll be a thriller, but I am
yeah.
looking forward to it.
Agree with
And I
that.
think PSG will win it.
Yeah, me too. Good luck, Internationale.
And good luck to PSG as well. Because I've enjoyed watching them this season, particularly in the semi final. Way! Actually, the
Nice.
most I enjoyed them, we said, for me, team performance of the season was when
Liverpool.
they lost against Liverpool. They were unbelievable in that
Yeah,
game at the Parc des Princes. Let's do a Champions League final. Is from 2011, Clates.
2011. Is that Man United, Barcelona?
Very good.
Bosh.
Yeah, on this day, 14 years ago, the Champions League final, which was at Wembley. Of course, the two sides had met in the final in Rome a couple of years earlier. And for me, probably the peak of club football in my memory.
Yeah, me too.
It's not to say that it is definitively the best club performance I have ever seen, but the disparity between the quality of the team that won this competition and the team that were runners up, and by the way, there was every case the same. Manchester United were the second best team in Europe at that point, was so vast. It was unbelievable. What a football team. Victor Valdez in goal. Danny Alves at right back. Eric Abidal, who'd returned from, he's obviously his own health issues, to captain the side, lift the trophy at left back. Gerard Piqué at centre back. By this point, it's Javier Mascherano alongside him rather than action man Carlos Puyol, who was only a substitute on this occasion. The midfield three, the greatest midfield that has ever lived. My
Yep.
goodness. And I say that because it's so remarkable to have three players who were probably the best in their position at the time, all playing in the same team. Busquets, Xavi, Iniesta. It's not fair. Messi ahead of it. Definitely not fair. Pedro Rodriguez and David Villa as the wide players. Wow. It's not even when I think back of that team and the performance in that final, and I think what had led up to it in the years before as well. 'Cause I'm pretty sure it's that same season they beat Real Madrid 5-0 in El Clasico. I'm pretty sure it's the same season. And they beat them 5-0 and they could have beat them 10-0. I mean, wow.
Was
There's
that the
not really words to do them justice, just how good they were, man.
was that the season when because it was against Real Madrid where the story is Pep the night before called Messi was like, I'm going to play you false nine. Was that season or was that prior to that?
No, so I think that would have been the '09 final.
Okay.
Was really the first real time we'd seen Messi play that, where Pep had switched Samuel Eto'o from the nine to play on the right wing. And there's interviews knocking about of Patrice Evra was like, "What's this? You've prepared for like playing against Messi." And Evra's obviously not a player who's short of confidence. I love this game and all that, right? So obviously playing against Messi, you're shitting yourself. But he thought, oh, he could hurt them the other way. So he's playing against Etu, and Etu was like, Etu just didn't let me breathe.
Yeah.
Couldn't do nothing. And I'm looking, I'm meant to be dealing with Messi, and he's inside me all the time. And I've got Eto as well. So yeah, I mean, that was tactical, but this was just overwhelming of just how good they were.
Have you got the Man United team there? Because
Yeah,
again, another thing I can't remember if I'm confusing was if this was the one where Ji-sung Park was playing. Because I've got this image in my head where there's a period where he's just trying to chase down that midfield three and they're just popping it around him.
yeah. The United team was Van der Sar. It was Fabio right back, Ferdinand Vidic, Evra. Antonio Valencia played ahead of Fabio. Park to the left, Giggs and Carrick centrally. This is obviously getting towards the end of Giggs's career. Rooney behind Hernandez. Benches for the record, by the way. Barcelona, Puyol, Bojan, Keita, Afalaya, Adriano, Thiago Alcantara, another player I adored. I still never understood why Barcelona let him go to Bayern Munich. United, Michael Owen, Anderson, Chris Smalling, Nani, Paul Scholes, Darren Fletcher. On the second goal that Barcelona score, if you watch it back, watch Park. I think this is part of what you're talking about. So ball goes, Park goes in for press. I can't remember who plays the pass to Messi, but Park he ends up kind of like spinning his arms. It's almost like he's just trying to drag himself to the next run. This is only about minute 55, by the way. And Ferguson has said since that he should have just man marked Messi with Park because his fitness levels were incredible. And I think Park had done a very similar job. I want to say on a game, I can't remember who against, but in the game against Chelsea earlier in the season, which had helped United obviously reclaim the title. But I don't think anything would have stopped Messi.
Yeah, that I'm so blessed that we've been able to watch that Barcelona team, that midfield three, and Messi in that era. Like, I don't think anything will come close, to be
I
honest.
think with them as well, with that team, I've spoken about this with certain moments with Tottenham. It's like feeling a moment and knowing you're in the moment of what you're in. When I watched that team, I knew I was watching the best football team I'd ever seen.
Yeah,
And it's one of them, and you pull yourself back and you go, is it recency bias? Am I in the moment? Is that what this really is? And you're like, I've never seen anything like
it was
this.
art. It was absolute art watching that football team.
And pretty much the only team, I shout out to the Chelsea guys because they'd be screaming it. Chelsea was like the only team they ever seemed to have any trouble with. The quality and the goal scoring ability and the midfield three, it is you could lose yourself for hours just watching back the midfield three. I think what you forget is how quickly they did it.
What do
It
you mean?
wasn't just that you couldn't get the ball off them; they
Oh,
were
the way
so
they
quick
pressed.
about it.
Yeah,
And and yeah, and if you had a moment where you won it back, it was like, yeah, they're coming for you. They didn't muck about winning it back. Guardiola will never be able to recreate this again, well, partly because you're never going to recreate Messi, but also with that midfield three. Yeah, I mean, I genuinely think as a midfield, that's the best midfield you'd ever see. And you can even put that in a diamond, just put Messi above it and go, yeah,
yeah.
that's football. Good luck with that.
Yeah, they always had the ball within their reach. It was like because I think nowadays people would be like, "Oh, can you do them physically?" It doesn't matter that like mentally they're two, three, four steps ahead of you, no matter what you're doing. It was painful to watch teams try to play against them sometimes, but it was pleasurable in the same way.
Yeah, I mean, like United fans probably hit like a real low moment losing to Tottenham in a European final last week. I imagine those at Wembley that night would have obviously walked out the ground very disappointed, but you would have walked out the ground and gone, too good,
Nothing
man.
you could,
Too
yeah.
good. Yeah. Barca
What was
took
the
the lead
score? Oh, so good.
3-1.
Okay,
It took the lead midway through the first half, goal from Pedro. And I tell you what my abiding memory of the first half was that United started quite well. And it started quite well in the final in Rome 2 years earlier as well. And I will never forget thinking about 10 minutes in, United have had their 10 minutes. They've had too much of the ball here. Ain't gonna see, and they haven't scored in this period. You're done. I remember thinking at 0-0, 10 minutes in, they haven't scored in that period. You're done. So it was then somewhat of a surprise when Wayne Rooney equalised for United 5 minutes after Pedro had given Barcelona the lead. But it did feel like there was a huge disparity between the two teams. And I remember thinking at half time, like, if you could offer United penalties now, they'd snap your hand off. Messi scores not long into the second half, goal from distance, where as he shapes to shoot, I mean, Van der Sar thinks he's going to go for the whip and he just drags it as a shot near, and it doesn't go right in the corner. It's always one you look back, you think Van der Sar is such a good goalkeeper, should deal with that better. But I think he's tried to read that Messi's going to go for the bend. He doesn't. And from there, they were in just complete control. The third goal is mastery from Messi in itself, even though he doesn't end up with the goal or the assist, because he ends up facing, I think it might have been Evra on the touchline, and he stops the ball dead, doesn't he? Stands there, and he faints and he faints, and then boom, it's gone.
Yeah.
And he beat, and then they all come over. There's about three of them rush over to come and get him, and the ball gets played through. And then I think Bush gets won it back and he plays it to Villa, gives it the control set, bends it into the far top corner. It was a beautiful goal to clinch a final. They were just on a different level from anything else I've ever seen in terms of quality of football. And I don't think I'll ever see a team that good again. I don't know how you can with that midfield three and Messi in front of it.
Yeah, it's like it was just the domination in every phase. And I think the thing that people sometimes forget about that team, which we said, is like the way they hunted to get it back when they lost it. Like they weren't just the pretty technical footballers; they worked like dogs to get it back. That, yeah, that pressing from them, it was the most complete football side I've ever seen. Yeah, I hope we see another side like that, but I don't think we will.
Do you know
Also,
what? I don't,
no, yeah, as I
in
said
a
that, I was
weird
like, no,
way.
I like the memories I've got of that. Yeah, I know what you mean, actually.
If you are too young to have, for whatever reason, to have seen this team, please go and get yourself some old DVDs or whatever. Find stuff. I'm sure you can find probably whole games on YouTube. Although the most I found of this final was about 12 minutes or so, actually knocking about on YouTube. I will link one of the videos I found into the bio if you want to watch any of the highlights back from that final on this day, 2011. Clayton, thank you very much. I've thoroughly enjoyed the Clayton and James show
Yeah,
this season.
likewise. And yeah, thank you to you and Suj for giving us the show to do this week in, week out. It's been very fun. And yeah, thanks to all the listeners. The comments, the feedback, and everything's been great. And yeah, this has been so fun doing this week in, week out. So
Do you want to, before we finish, you want to tell people anything?
yeah, can do.
I've kind of thrown you over the bus where
Yeah,
you've got to now. Sorry.
as my good friend Borat says, I go to America. So I've got a job to coach football out there. Well, soccer this summer. So I'm going out to America next Friday to coach. Yeah, got a summer job. So my pod schedule will be a little bit confusing for the first couple of weeks, but I'll have the first couple of weeks to adjust to routines and stuff. Then I'll be in touch with James and Suj and hopefully be back on very soon. But yeah, I'm off to America for the summer and we'll see what the future holds after that. But no, honestly, thanks to you and Suj for this season. This has been so fun and yeah, love doing it.
Good stuff from all of us. And I think I speak for all of the listeners and viewers as well. Very best of luck. Thank you. Genuinely, really enjoyed this show this year. A nice vacuum from losing Sky Fantasy Football in my life. So big thank you to you, mate. There's a number of thank yous I'd like to give out as well before we finish. Firstly, to the viewers and the listeners, thank you for all your support throughout the 24-25 season. I'd like to thank Tottenham Hotspur for making me both miserable, but simultaneously also at the end very, very happy. For the benefit of those watching on the video, smash a like, hit the sub button. For the audio listeners, a 5-star review goes a really long way. Suj and I will be back after a little break on Monday, June the 9th. As always, everyone, please be nice to each other. Cue music, please. Man child.